Hi, Anneliese. How are you
Hi,
doing?
Connie.
Hey, good to
I'm
see you.
great. How are you?
Pretty good, thanks.
Good to see
I'm looking
you.
forward to our little chit chat interview here. So, since some of our choral members have said that it's sometimes difficult for them to get a sense of what we're talking about in the board meetings and then to what decisions we come, you and I thought of ways to be more transparent. And this is kind of like what we want to put on. So, we met after the last board meeting on Monday and wanted to give you this recap of our discussion. COVID has obviously presented quite a challenge for the future of our organization.
Obviously, none of us have ever experienced a shutdown like this. So we're trying our best to just weather the storm and come out on the other side. We had a
Exactly.
pre-board meeting last week before our board meeting,
Mhm.
and we're going to just talk a little bit about our pre-board meeting first. Does that sound good?
I think that that would be great. Okay, so the general consensus, I think, was that we really all miss each other and we miss singing with each other. So that's kind of like what several of us have said. And of course, it's also how I feel, and I think you too, right, Annalise?
Yes.
Yeah. But it was also clear that health and safety is really our priority, and that many chorale members have expressed worry that if we would sing again, that they would either not join us or that it would be really risky. So, and that's also kind of like how we had talked about it prior already in the board meeting, and that safety and health is really our first um, agenda. We are also
Yeah.
all aware that singing is considered a high risk activity. So we'll have to wait for a vaccine to kind of like be able to sing safely together again, and there's just no way around this for all of us.
Yep.
Um, all people that kind of like attended this pre-board meeting were, kind of like agreed with that, and there was really nobody who kind of like said that they wanted to sing and no matter what and how risky this would be. Is that also how you
Right.
did it?
I thought so. I thought it was a really affirming thing to hear that nobody wanted to have anyone be in an unsafe situation.
Right. Okay.
So most of our discussion in the pre-board meeting was kind of around the question, how can we continue to sing and keep our voices conditioned?
Mhm.
One person thought it would be nice to have a virtual choir, and that is that you are at home and you record yourself, right, Connie? And then you send it to an editor, and that editor puts all of our combined videos together to make this one big, beautiful choir, which I think we've probably all seen videos of. And that would be really fun. Another option was to have an open mic event virtually, and that way we can all get together and kind of sing for each other. And there was some discussion about how to make that some sort of fundraiser, so that's fun. A thought of singing in small groups but also social distancing ourselves, and we'd have to do it in an outside environment, which I think that sounds fun. Connie, what's your backyard like?
Oh, my backyard is nice and big, and certainly it would be a great spot for singing some socially distant, little group or whatever, or something like that. So, um,
And the last thing I think that someone mentioned was it would be really nice. Oh, sorry. It would be really nice for Paul to put together some online vocal exercises. And we're going to talk to him a little bit later about that.
sounds like a great plan to me. I think the other major topic was really kind of like several members asked how we could all help and come together to make it possible to possibly like pay our conductors and also Janice some money at least, because obviously they're not going to have an income now that we won't be able to sing, at least certainly not in the fall. And
Mhm.
so there were a couple of ideas how we could possibly make that happen, because of course that's connected to fundraising. So one person suggested that we could ask members to pay even though we are not able to sing, in the spirit of maintaining or keeping our choral alive, having, maintaining, hopefully retaining our conductors and Janice, so that we can really go back to our old way of functioning, or once kind of like COVID is behind us and we're safe to sing together again. To do that, there were a couple of ideas.
So an example that came up in the meeting is that one person said that she has been through this whole shutdown. She has been paying her hairstylist, she's been paying the lady that does her nails, therapist, anything that she would normally have done through the shutdown, that was in fact canceled because of the shutdown. She still was able to pay those people for services that were not rendered because she wanted to keep them going. So I thought that was pretty cool to still give those businesses some sort of income.
Yeah, so basically, what I'm hearing is like the idea that making our donations, continue to make our donations to PCS so that the organization can stay alive and that we can sing together again in the future once this whole COVID thing is over, right?
Yep, that's exactly right.
Okay.
Yeah.
The
So
other
some other, you
Sorry.
what? Sorry. Some other ideas that were come up with in that meeting, as far as fundraising and brainstorming ways to raise money throughout the shutdown, was to create ways for the community to be reminded of Blues Choral Society. And those ideas were maybe trying to convince NPR or local radio stations to play some of our recordings on air, just to remind people that we're here and this is what we do and we sound gorgeous. Another idea was to make a YouTube videos, including photos of both the Choral Society and our county, our country, our fields, our rolling hills, as a way of like encouraging people to remember that we're here and we're still going, or we're going to plan to still keep going when we are able. And the last idea was to send letters and visit businesses, encouraging folks to donate to PCS so we can remain solvent and also pay our people that we pay. So Janice, Paul, Stephanie. And I think that is the way that I can see our fundraising going a little better and being successful is really everyone getting involved and just hitting those businesses and seeing what they say.
Yeah, so really having a lot of people involved in fundraising, hopefully, or maybe having a fundraising committee who's kind of like heading that and spearheading that and actively participating in that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I think people have some extra time now, so hopefully people will want to get involved and help out.
That would be great. Okay, I think this is a great recap of kind of like what we discussed in that pre-board meeting. Let's switch over kind of like what we discussed in the board meeting. And to highlight some important areas, you and I have kind of like decided that we wanted to invite some guests and have like a little recap show or interview. And so we'll have Eric to join us first. And he's going to talk about our finances currently and also kind of like how we are hoping to navigate the future. Who else do we plan to invite?
Paul is going to join us after that, and he's going to talk about the next season and what we plan while, we are trying to remain cautiously optimistic that we will have some way to sing together in the spring of 2021.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and then
our third guest.
You go ahead.
Yes, tell me about her. I'm sorry. Our third guest is going to be Susan, our president. And we hope that, after we talk to her, you'll have a good sense of where we are as a chorale. And after watching this little podcast with Connie and I, that you'll feel like you're as informed as we are.
Okay, so we'll have next hour interviews.
So in our board meeting, we started off sharing with the full board what was discussed in the pre-board meeting. and all the input was taken into consideration while we discussed 3 main points. And by the way, thank you everyone who joined us for the pre-board meeting and who emailed some suggestions to us. It was really helpful to have a direction of where we were going to go in the board meeting. So the budget was discussed, the season, and how we can keep the chorale alive. So let's jump right in and see what Eric has to say about our budget.
Hi, Eric. Thank you for joining us. Talk a little bit about our budget situation. It's good to see you.
Thanks for having me.
Eric, so can you fill us in what the current budget situation is? We do know that we, or mostly Janice, really has managed to get some grant money, and also kind of like there has been a really successful fundraiser. So where are we currently with our budget?
Well, we're actually in pretty good shape. We had made the decision to honor the salary contracts that we had for Paul and for the children's choir director and for Janice as our executive director. So, you know, we were looking at a loss of several thousands of dollars since we didn't have any income for the last concerts. But like you said, there was a good fundraising campaign, and we had a successful grant, and so we ended up not just with a balanced budget, but a little bit ahead, about $3,000 ahead. So we're pretty fortunate this time around, I think.
Yeah, for sure. In our pre-board meeting, Eric, sorry?
It's really great to hear that we're in good standing.
Yeah, good. Sorry. In our pre-board meeting and in the actual board meeting, there was a clear agreement that we want to pay Janice, Paul, and Stephanie if at all possible. If the 3 of them were to be compensated as per usual contracts, taking into account the other monetary obligations that PCS accrues, how much money would that be that we would have to raise?
Let's see. For usual contracts for the salaries, we usually pay on the order of about $33,000. And then with other kind of fixed costs that we've got, about 4,450. So we're looking about $37,500 that we would have to raise to have everybody on salary as usual. It's quite a lot.
Wow, yes, that is really a lot to raise without, especially without income from the fall season 2020. So what other options were discussed in the board meeting?
Well, we did talk about having people, especially those with salaries, we talked about sort of giving them a much reduced amount for the time that we're not actually fully engaged in doing our rehearsals and our concerts and things like that. Essentially, for Paul and for Stephanie, they would have, we suggested that they have retainers, about $1,200 for Paul and about $600 for Stephanie. And that would give them some money to do the off and on things that could be necessary for us, like showing up at radio shows and helping to write grants and things like that, that keep the choir going while we're not able to be fully engaged. And similarly, Janice agreed to do essentially hourly work. So for those hours that she might put in, again, applying for grants and arranging for things for us to continue on as an organization, they estimated maybe she might put in about $1,900. So we could continue on until such time as we actually start doing real practices and concerts again for about $3,900. So that seems a little more achievable.
Yes. Eric. Obviously, our donors might support us at a lower extent because we're not having concerts, but typically, how much money do we get from donors a year?
Well, if you include as donors, those of us in the chorale, and we are in fact included as donors, we're a big part of that. Then it's usually $20,000 to $30,000 that we get from donors, from grants, all.
Wow.
So that does raise the possibility that we could, fundraise between now and starting up next year with possible concerts. If it gets to the point where it's actually safe for us to get together in a room and sing together, it looks like we may be able, if we were able to raise in the $20,000 range, that would be enough for us to put on an April concert next year if things were safe to do so. So,
Okay.
That's within the range of monies that we have been able to raise in the past. It could be doable.
We'd have from now until April or March, maybe, I guess.
Something like that. Yeah. to decide if there's enough raised to decide if it's safe to go back to singing. But any help we can get, anything that we can do to raise money would give us the ability to start up right away when we've got the go ahead to be safe when we're together.
Well, great. Thank you so much, Eric, for giving us like an overview of our current budget situation and any kind of like potentials we might have in the future. And thanks again for taking the time to join us. Okay.
Hey, I am happy to do it. Hopefully what I've said is actually correct, me not being the actual truth. But that's I think that's it. Okay. So yes, right. You guys have a good evening, and we'll talk to you.
Thank you.
You too. Bye, Eric. Goodbye. Bye. All right. So if you really hit our donors hard and raise a bunch of money, we could even try to raise enough funds to kind of like be able to put to pay like Paul, Stephanie, and Janice, but that would really be an immense effort and certainly something where we would have to look into getting assistance from as many members as possible from the chorale.
Yeah, and if we raise enough money to simply have an April concert, then that way we remain solvent to pick up normal business for the 2021 to 2022 season, which would be delightful. Let's talk about the ideas for the 2020-21 season. We have invited Paul to talk to us about our planning for the next season. Thanks, Paul, for joining us. Nice haircut.
Thank you. I just got it this morning. It was excellent.
Awesome. Okay. So granted that there's no vaccine for COVID within the next few months, it's clear, or we decided that there will be no fall concert, but we have looked into some options for spring. And Paul, could you maybe share with all members like some of the options that we discussed?
Sure. So, of course, we're all hoping that there will be a vaccine as soon as possible for so many reasons. But as it relates to our singing in our community, if there is a vaccine by the spring of 2021, we have a couple of options that we discussed based on the timing of that and the viability of safety concerns. Always thinking about the safety concerns of the membership and the audience before anything else. The first would be that if a vaccine January or so, we would look into launching our April concert in the end of the 2021 spring, and for that, then we would take last year's spring concert, which we were in the middle of working on. I guess it's this year's 2020 spring concert, which we were in the middle of working on with the Mozart and the commission piece, the 20th anniversary concert, and performing it then. And probably starting rehearsals in March. It would be a shorter rehearsal schedule, but most of us would have already started working on that music, so that should give us an advantage. If it's later than that, that we're not able to take the time to do all the preparation to ramp that up, but we still do have a vaccine by sometime in the spring, we're hoping to be able to do the Brahms Requiem in June, that fundraiser. Either way, if we do the April concert, boy, I'm really stumbling. If we do the April concert, then we would also do the June Brahms Requiem fundraiser in collaboration with the Symphony and with Northwest Public Broadcasting. If we get a vaccine too late to do April, we may still be able to do the fundraiser in June. And if that's the case, then when we start our fall of 2021 season for the following full year, we would probably move that Mozart and Podworski concert to be our opening concert of that new season.
Cool. So that means we still have our 20th anniversary concert. Just the question is just when we have that, basically.
Right. And with the way the season was interrupted, we can almost make a case that it's still the conclusion of our 20th anniversary season, just in the 21st or 22nd year. No big deal.
Yes. Paul, when we were talking in the board meeting, you brought up the idea of a virtual concert that we could put together sometime earlier in 2021. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Sure. So I've been doing, for church and for fun and entertainment for my own sanity, a lot of what's called virtual music. I'm sure many of our members will be familiar with the virtual choir idea. And so I've gained some comfort with that software. And so the idea was that, like a year ago, we did a Valentine's Day concert, for example, where we had some pieces that were performed by the chamber group, but we also opened up to the entire membership of the chorale to do small ensembles, duos, trios, quartets, maybe some solos, stuff like that, by audition. And so the thought would be that we could maybe do one or two bigger virtual choir pieces, something like that, and then do some smaller ensembles, invite people to record themselves. Maybe they're singing along with a pre-recorded piano track, maybe they have family members who would like to participate, or maybe we could coordinate some virtual quartets or trios or something like that, and basically do an online concert where we string those performances together into a program and run it as essentially a concert format that people could watch at home.
Okay, so Paul, I had a question about that. So if you put this together, and that's probably going to be a ton of work, would you think of it more of a fundraising opportunity, or primarily more like an outreach concert to keep us, in people's minds?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think my feeling is that it will be more of a hey, don't forget about us concert. More of a both an opportunity for us to create some art in community, which I know we're all so very badly missing. So good for us as a community and good for us as singers and human beings, but also an opportunity to continue to be in the mind of others. It's really hard to make money streaming music on the internet. For example, the monetized YouTube channels, those videos have to get hundreds of thousands of hits before anybody notices any new money in their bank account. So we're not going to be able to do it that way. But there is a chance that by showing that we still believe in what we do as a community of singers, and trying to continue to follow our mission, which is, the general gist of is to create excellent sung music and share it with this region, and maybe now, virtually beyond that, that will minds, people may continue to support us monetarily. So there may be some fundraising there, but I think first and foremost, it's to serve our mission and to continue to serve our membership.
Cool. And what can members do in the meantime to keep on singing? Do you have any resources that you've come up with or found to share with us?
Yeah, I think anything and everything is good. Sing with the radio. I mean, we've got a little 7-month-old baby, so we're singing nonstop. None of it's I can't say this too loud because, of course, Susan's an elementary music teacher. None of it's good music. No, I'm just kidding. I've learned a whole bunch of really cool kids songs that we're having a blast with. But stuff as simple as that. I have been working with a colleague, actually, since you mentioned resources. Her name is Hannah Ryan, and she's the director of choral activities at the University of Virginia campus in Wise County. And she and I have put together a page on my webpage, which is paulthompsonchoir.com, where we're putting up building a video database of various warm-ups specifically for choral singers. So if people are looking for a way to keep singing but want to not just have to figure it out and make it up on their own, head over there. It's totally free to use. We're doing this because we're hoping to help people keep singing, at times like this. And once we get back to more normal operations or whatever that turns out to be, this could still be a resource for people during the week in between rehearsals to keep checking in with their voices. So there's videos that explain the warm-ups and tell you what you should be thinking about and if there are gestures that you go with it and stuff like that. And then there are links that you can click on that'll just take you straight to the part where the piano gets played in the right key for your voice type and tells you what vowels to use and stuff like that, so that you don't have to sit through the explanation every time you want to do the warm-up. So yeah, paulthompsonchoir.com, and just click on choral warm-ups on the top.
Yeah, so I actually looked at your website, Paul, and it looks like a really cool resource. Thank you so much for putting that together for everybody and for making it accessible. Would it be okay if we shared your link when we send out the link for this recording with everybody in the chorale?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, anybody is welcome to share it with anybody else too. So go ahead and get the word out. It's there because we're hoping people find it useful.
Okay.
Cool.
And
do you have anything else you'd like to add, Paul? Oh, Connie does. All right.
Question about the
Connie's
website.
Getting glitchy on us again, actually.
I'm sorry.
Oh, all right.
Is it better now?
Oh, go ahead.
So I had another question about the website, because when I went there, I also saw that you are offering voice lessons. I just wanted to ask, is that also a virtual possibility, an online possibility, or not so much?
I've sort of paused my voice lesson stuff during COVID. I found that it's a real challenge to make good progress with people while they are not in the same room because of things like technology constraints. Can you tell the difference between my head neck alignment here and my head neck alignment here? That type of stuff is awfully hard to work with. But I'm actually hoping that as soon as we've built up this warm-up database, that we'll be able to use that. I'll be able to use that to start doing some useful work online. So today or tomorrow, no, but I'm hoping by fall that I've got a format figured out so that we can use that, so that whoever I'm working with has some exercises that they can sing, and I can focus completely on watching them and listening to them over the internet while they work with their own pre-recorded stuff off the website. So stay tuned. It may happen soon, but we're not quite there yet.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
All right, Paul, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
Have a good evening.
Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, Anneliese.
Well, now that we've heard about, hello. Now that we've heard about the budget and the season, let's come to our third and last interview with our president, Susan, to talk about how the chorale can stay alive through these challenging times.
Hi, Susan. Thank you for joining us.
Hi.
We're happy to have you here.
Susan, in our last board meeting, we decided to take the appropriate precautions moving forward to make us certain that all of our members will be safe. This means that we will not sing in the fall of 2020 and will only come back to singing in person in the spring in 2021 if there is a vaccine. Is that right?
Yep. We are really working and want to work really hard to make certain that our singers and our audience members stay safe and that no one gets sick, no one gets hurt. It's really important. It's really our number one responsibility, is to make certain that we feel safe singing and are safe singing, and our audience is in the same position hearing us sing.
Okay. So in the board meeting, of course, we discussed all kinds of options and possibilities. Do you think we as a board have a solid plan moving forward from here?
We did talk about lots and lots of different things, and these are the main goals that we have. First and foremost is safety, like we reiterated earlier, just prior, making certain that no one gets sick. Second is to keep the chorale alive and going through this whole challenging time. Third is to raise the funds that we need to pay Paul, Stephanie, and Janice, so that when we come back together, we have the personnel to do this great quality work that we want to do when we can sing again. And fourth is to create opportunities to potentially sing outside of our regular rehearsals as long as it's safe.
Cool. How do you think that we can achieve these goals?
Well, we realize that we need everybody in the chorale to step up and participate and help out. It's really important that everyone has a part to play in it so that we can make enough money to keep ourselves afloat until when we can come back together and sing and perform and do this wonderful music that we love, and therefore be able to support ourselves through our work.
So we did come up with a couple of ideas how members can start helping out and can start supporting the chorale and keeping it safe alive. Can you say some words to that, what we came up with?
Sure. Let me show you some of the things that we talked about. One of the ways is, a big way that won't cost anybody any money is if when we buy on Amazon, and I would say a huge portion of us now do, can't help it, right?
Certainly true.
We buy on Amazon, search for Amazon Smile.
Yes.
The charity program that Amazon has. We click on that and put in Palouse Choral Society or PCS, then we will get a little bit of donation for every purchase. So we'd like to ask everybody who purchases, and then just think about, maybe your mom lives way out in the country or your grandma and she buys a lot. And I have friends I know buy a lot on Amazon just because they kind of always have, and it's easier for them because they have families. Then I'm going to ask them directly also to use Amazon Smile. So I want to encourage everybody, not only themselves, but to think of their family members and friends who also shop on Amazon, to ask them to use Amazon Smile and choose PCS. Another way is if we have a birthday coming up on Facebook and we're on Facebook, we can run a birthday fundraiser and choose Palouse Choral Society as the recipient of our fundraising. That's a great option. I think it's really fun because, really as adults, we have a lot of stuff, right? We might as well have it go to a good cause.
For sure.
Let's see. I can't remember. I think another thing we talked about is if we will continue to pay our singing donations that we would normally pay if we were singing, if we would consider as much as we can. I know that it's hard for a lot of people. Some people aren't working or working as much, but if they would consider trying to pay as much as they can, or a part of that, or all of it if we can, donate that also. And then if we have any other ideas, anybody else has any ideas about fundraising opportunities, then if they would share those, then we can use those to potentially raise money also.
Is there anything else you'd like to, as our president, Susan, is there anything else you'd like to add to this conversation?
Well, I think that if we have any other types of ideas that will benefit the chorale, Palouse Choral Society at this time, whatever it is, to make it better, to make it stronger, to make it so we can survive the pandemic and get over COVID and be able to sing again. If anybody has any ideas, we're very happy to hear them, and we would like to hear them. And I think it's a responsible thing to do to benefit the crowd by sharing whatever information we have.
I agree. Thank you.
Yeah. Did you have any specific ideas how maybe the chorale could remain in people's, in people's minds, that we're not forgotten and that people maybe can hear us sing?
One of the main ones that I've spoken about before, and it's is to see if we can get NPR to put some of our concerts, our music that we own copyright for, on the radio. That would be wonderful, because when I was in Spokane, saying with the the chorale up in Spokane, they did it every Monday after our concert weekend. They would play the concert, and it was just wonderful to kind of hear it yourself, because when you sing, you only kind of hear sopranos are way over there, it's hard to hear the tenors because they're way over there, but to hear it all together is wonderful. I think that would be a fun thing to do, is to see if we can get that on it. We've already reached out to some people who work there to see if we can get that. And that's one way. If anybody has any other ideas, we're happy to hear those too.
Great.
Okay, great. Thank you, Susan. Thank you so much for joining us and letting everybody know about, what we discussed and how we hope to move forward from here. Thank you for coming.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Good job. Well, now you guys know as much as we do. If you have any suggestions for fundraising opportunities or how we can remain visible as a chorale in the community, please let us know. You can send us an email. Connie's email is kirchhc@frontier.com, and my email is ANNELIESE zook @gmail.com.
And one last thought. Earlier we talked about that idea that maybe we could get together in small groups and sing in people's backyards, keeping a safe distance, of course. And we don't really need permission for that. So if you have people that you want to sing with and you want to get it together, do that. Just make sure that you stay safe, be smart, and have fun. All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
And I always like to sing.
I'm going to change everything in between. It's going to be great.
Should I put something on my head? Like, I look different now.
Somebody's underwear. Yes, please. Please do.